Let's talk about going back to school. So, if you're watching this video, you are contemplating going to grad school after your bachelor's. There's a bunch of pros and cons that we're gonna go over right now. But before we get started here, like I've said before, look at this. Most of you guys watching this are not subscribed. I would really appreciate if you take the time just to give this video a thumbs up, maybe comment something down below, even subscribe if you want. I'm not gonna force you to do anything, but I would just really appreciate it. All right, let's get back to the video. So let's start off with some of the cons of going to grad school. Number one, and everyone's gonna say this, is going to be the financial burden. Of course, everyone's financial situation is very different, but if you're not going on a scholarship or any type of funding, grad school can be extremely expensive. Especially if you're gonna go to some really small private school that's gonna just try and nickel and dime you or just try and make a pretty penny off of you. Another reason why I think grad school may not be for you is actually not due to your career at all, but it's because you're bored. A lot of people find this idle time and they feel like they're stuck and they're like, you know what, this is the time that I need to go back to school. Or they're in their senior year, not really sure what they want to do with their life, and they're like, you know what, let me just delay the inevitable and let me just go get my master's. Which in the short term makes sense. Getting a higher education, getting a higher degree would essentially mean that you would make more money. But you're just adding more debt, and especially if you choose the wrong program, this can be detrimental to your overall financial success. I don't think adding more time or delaying the inevitable is going to help you. You need to sit down with yourself and figure out what you actually want to do with your life, make a plan, and then go from there. If grad school down the line makes its way back, then great. Another reason why I think grad school may not be worth it, depending on your university, is the job placement. My number one thing when trying to decide on a grad school is where are these programs putting their students? If you see that people come in at a certain level and they exit in a totally different industry and that industry is where you want to be, 100% apply. But if you're seeing people start at an entry-level job, make it through the master's program, and they're still kind of on that entry-level path and it's not at a company that you want to be working for, especially after getting a master's degree, then I'd probably shy away from attending this program. So my next reason why grad school may not be for you is honestly probably my strongest indicator of a good program. And that's if your school does not have a strong alumni network. I know everyone says this, but in my experience, your network is honestly everything. That's how I've been able to kind of jump around and make some of the connections that I have is due to my network. Especially depending on the area where you live in, if that school has a stronghold in that specific area, more people, more alumni are gonna wanna help you out and see a former student succeed. So my last and final reason why grad school may not be for you is if you're already in the field that you wanna be working in. So let's say for this video, you wanna go back for your master's in computer science, but you're already at a FANG company, it may not be for you. Of course, if there's a promotion leading up to it and Meta said that they're actually gonna pay for your entire master's program, that's an entirely different conversation. But if you're already in a software engineering role, and you're just trying to do it to stand out, I don't think it's in the best interest for you to go back to school. But this, of course, always ties back to the financial burden and kind of weighing out the pros and the cons. So let's switch up to something a little bit more positive. What are the reasons why you should go back to grad school? I would say the number one thing, finances aside, is if you're jumping fields. Based on my prior experience, I entered the workforce with an economics bachelor's, but I really wanted to break into tech. So instead of going back for my MBA, I decided to switch into a master's of data analytics, and that's kind of what brought me into cybersecurity and software engineering. I knew that tech was something that I really wanted to do from the beginning, but I honestly didn't think I was smart enough. I was very insecure, and my military service kind of got in the way a little bit of where I wanted to take my career, but that's a conversation for another day. But jumping fields is a really good way to utilize a master's program. Speaking of the military, this actually brings me to my next point of why a master's program could be a good thing. Of course, it comes back to finances. So if there's a way for you to get a scholarship, your former military, or your company's gonna pay for it, I think why not utilize some of the resources that you have? We're not getting any younger. I'll speak for myself. Kids are down the line. This is the time that I want to stack as much education as I can because I just know the more I delay it, the less I'm gonna wanna do it. I've spoken to so many senior leaders and they all say that they wish they kind of just kept the ball rolling when it came to their education because they've been 15 years out from school, kind of stuck in their ways, and the idea of going back to school is very daunting, and they just don't really want to deal with it. The tuition assistance at these companies is there for a reason. You might as well make the most of it. So the next reason why grad school could be a very good thing for you is, like I said previously, the alumni network. So once again, bringing this back to my experience, I live in Pennsylvania. I went to Penn State for undergrad. I'm currently in Penn State for my master's in data analytics. And I recently just got into Villanova for my master's in computer engineering. where I live in Pennsylvania, Villanova has a stronghold. Every person with a nice car, CEO, high-paying job, one way or another was associated with Villanova. And so when I was looking at schools to apply to, I took note of that, and I was like, well, these are the people that I want to be associated with, so I'm going to try my best to become part of their network. Villanova has an extremely strong alumni network. You can wear the V around any parts of Pennsylvania, and I promise you someone will stop you and discuss their experience or their connection to Villanova. So I think that value is honestly priceless, and I haven't even set foot on campus, but I've already started to reap the benefits. But at the same time, I'm able to say that because the military is paying for my master's program. So you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt. So the last point that I'm going to make as to why grad school could be good for you is actually a topic that I don't think is talked about enough, and that's the importance of research, especially in the world of computer science, computer engineering, artificial intelligence. We all get the buzzwords. But companies and universities are investing so much money into research, and everyone is trying to figure out the best way to utilize some of these AI models, especially with the idea of quantum computing coming around. People are talking about nuclear reactors powering some of these AI monsters. So it's a crazy time to be in research. I think it's really important to look at the research opportunities at whatever school you're trying to go to, and also see what the professors are up to these days when it comes to research. What projects are they working on? What theses are they helping out with? If those projects have any interest of you and where you want to take your career, I would 100% reach out to them on LinkedIn, find their school email, and just talk to them about it. I've also seen a lot more entry-level jobs require or prefer some type of research experience. And honestly, some of these research jobs, you don't need to be an expert in coding. You just need to be a really good team player, hardworking, and accountable. So I think it's also a way to get into big tech without being a total elite code nerd. But that's also just my opinion. These professors that you would be doing research under will also be a super valuable mentor, because they've obviously been doing this for years and years and years, and most of them, if not all, have a PhD, and they could be a really credible reference when it comes to your career and job seeking. So if you're still watching this, you could probably already figure out that me, based on my experience, I am very supportive of higher education, especially being in my mid-20s right now, because, like I said, starting a family is a huge thing for me, and I just want to get the most out of it right now that I can, especially because it is for free. And I know I won't have these opportunities for much longer in the future. But at the same time, I know everyone does not have the luxury as myself of having it for free or being on scholarship. With that being said, I honestly don't think that I would go back to grad school if it wasn't paid for, just because I don't want to have that debt over my head. That's why I would really try to get into a company that has a really good tuition assistance and a larger Fortune 500 company that could allow you to internally transfer to get some of that job experience, as well as pursuing a higher level of education while in this company. If you'd like to hear more about that aspect of it, I can make a whole other video, because that's kind of what I did, and that's how I broke into a technical role from a finance role, but I'll leave that up for you guys. So if you guys like this video, make sure you guys like, share, comment, subscribe. I really appreciate the support and all the comments that I've gotten on my previous videos, and I look forward to sharing another video with you guys soon.